Okay, well, welcome back to the Reformed Film Lab podcast, where we discuss all things film, camera, and the analog life. We actually have a new host today if you're watching here on YouTube, and we're titling this episode the Pentax 17 Roundtable, because we have two Pentax 17 cameras that we just finished reviewing today. I'm Mike, the owner of Reformed Film Lab, and we have...
I'm Bree.
Ava.
And Hope.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, these newbies.
These newbies that we have with us today.
I'm not in... Well, okay.
You're a newbie to the podcast.
Newbie to the podcast. Yeah, so far with the podcast, it's just been John. He's actually emceeing the podcast today, keeping our audio in check, and Sierra. But Sierra was
John
like,
and Sierra have been hogging spots.
They've been hogging the podcast. I was like, well, yeah, we need to change it up and have some new faces on. So before we get into today, what do we have on the table?
Cookies.
And Pentaxes.
And Pentaxes. Why do we have cookies and Pentax?
Because there's a chance that me, Bree, and Ava will get hungry during the podcast.
There's a chance, yeah. I think, Bree, we can thank the cookies from your mom today.
Yeah, my mom brought me some cookies.
Thank you, Bree's mom.
Thank you.
And I think half of that case has already been devoured.
Mm-hmm. We three weren't the only ones to eat it.
And we all stare at John in the distance. So yeah, we have some cookies today. That was really nice to have come in. But we have the two Pentax 17 cameras today, and we want to go over a little bit more in depth. We'll have a review here on YouTube where we were able to shoot the cameras with like 6 different films. I think each of us kind of picked our favorite film and went out and shot with it today. But we wanted to have a little bit more coverage on it, maybe a little bit more real coverage. We can talk a little bit more our thoughts on it. We went over like pros and cons, what we liked and disliked. And we actually have a huge print that we made. So with this camera, it's not uncommon to make a really large print. It does really well. So Hope, I think you are the resident film newbie here. Is that fair to say?
Yep.
That's fair to say. Yeah. I mean, granted, Bree and Ava, you guys went to college for photography.
Yeah. Fun times.
You guys graduated the same semester?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
She didn't walk. I walked. She made me walk by myself. With the other weird
Why'd you do that,
classmates.
Bree?
I walked for high school, you know,
Yeah, but I wasn't in your high school.
But now we work together.
Not the same.
You helped her get a job here, actually.
Yeah, and you didn't even walk with me.
Do you want to tell the story of how Bree got hired?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we did college together. We were in a few classes, and we both, I found out she liked film, and I worked here, so instantly we bonded over that and stuff like that. She shot film. I was like, hey, you should totally come bring it to where I work. And then she was taking a class. She needed an internship somewhere. So I was like, I'll ask Michael if you can come intern for us. We've never done it before, but
yeah,
so I went to Michael.
Interns.
I don't remember if I texted you first or if I mentioned it to you. You're like, oh yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I was like, we'll talk about it.
So she's like, every week I come to class, she's like, did he say anything? I was like, no, not yet. I'll remind him again.
How many times? I wasn't trying to blow you off. I think just every time.
He was trying to blow Bree off.
I was trying to blow Bree off. No, I think every time you thought about it, I was like, I guess my mind went to, I don't even know if we could do something like that. Like, could we have interns? Would like a university allow that? I think I was thinking way too technical beyond what it was, because I interned in graduate school and they had all these requirements. I think we talked about that. But then finally you were like, Mike, can Bree come and intern here? I was like, all right, give her my phone number. Let me chat with her. And then when we talked about it, you're like, no, it's really simple.
Yeah. The class itself was pretty...
I mean, what do they want you to do in your internship? Just something photography related?
It doesn't. Did it have to be photography?
It did. It was supposed to be photography related, and it really just needed to be 25 hours for the entire semester. It was pretty open to whatever. So.
I don't even think we gave you a letter saying you completed it. So clearly they must have trusted you that you.
Yeah, I mean, I just had to make a presentation.
I
didn't have to actually present it. I just had to make it.
Was it the
Online
presentation
classes.
like Ryan did about Michael Scott from The Office?
And now, without further ado, I present the Regional Manager of Dunder Mifflin Scranton, Michael Scott.
Yeah.
So that's probably why I wasn't invited. Probably would have ruined it. But you graduated, so clearly it went well.
Candy bars.
Candy bars, yeah. 100 grand or whatever that was. A lot of Office references here, which you haven't seen yet, so you still
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
need to watch that.
No Star Wars though. 'Cause
No, well, yeah. When we were testing
there's
out
Star Wars references.
if you're new to our podcast, this whole setup is new, and we were testing the audio the other day, and we found out that Bree, I don't even want to say it. The words just hurt coming out of my mouth. What have you not seen?
Star Wars.
It's not true. That's impossible.
Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter.
No!
John's shaking his head over there.
It was just crazy. Those are like
Those are-
classics. Ava didn't see them either, though, when we met. So,
I had seen
granted,
Star
she
Wars
was
and
10,
Lord of
so
the
that-
Rings.
There was a little more.
I still haven't
lenient.
seen most of the Harry Potters. I've only seen one and maybe half.
We're working on her.
Yeah, I didn't watch the Harry Potters until just a couple of years ago when my kids got into them. I grew up when the books were being written, because I can remember like a book coming out and everyone in middle school and high school was like super excited, and then the new one was coming out, and then they started making the movies. I had zero interest back then, but then when I watched them as an adult, I was like, this is pretty cool. I really
love
like
Harry
it.
Potter.
I was like a 30-year-old watching Harry Potter, but it was a cool movie. It was like well done. Music was great. I'm always particular about musical scores in movies. I've always
Oh
liked
yeah,
that,
even the
so.
cartoons. You got like How to Train Your Dragon has a good.
That one is so
soundtrack.
The music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, when we were going out to shoot the Pentax review, Sierra, for some reason, brought that up, How to Train a Dragon. I don't know how it came up. And then we were talking about the
Because
music
they went
today.
through an obsession phase with How to Train Your Dragon.
Good music, though.
Good music though.
So, Bree, what's next for you? So you intern here, you work here now, but you're not done with school.
No, I'm going to be going to UCF in the fall to complete my next 2 years for my Bachelor's of Science.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Ava's not continuing. You're done?
I'm done.
Yeah. What made you want to go on and not be done like Ava?
I wouldn't know too actually.
You're not a quitter?
I think it's mostly because
I'm just joking.
I think it's because a lot of the job listings that I see, because I'm always looking on like Indeed and stuff like that, are looking for people with bachelor's degrees.
Okay.
So I don't know.
And
better
photography
chance
for
at-
like what
yeah.
you're looking for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is I'm gonna be jobless?
Hey, you work here.
I'll never be
We'll
jobless.
find you a job, Ava. When I'm rich and famous.
I don't
I'll
want to clean
donate
your
a
house.
couple-
Thank you very much.
You can live in my mansion.
So let's get into the main topic today. We all shot the Pentax 17. I think Bree, Ava, and myself actually got to shoot it a little bit before our review. And Hope, this was your first time shooting it. So Hope, what are your first impressions of the camera? It's a brand new camera that's out. It's kind of geared supposedly to younger shooters who are new to photography. And you've shot some half frame cameras. You have a Canon AE1. What's your take on it so far?
I like it. I think it's super easy to use. It's a great camera for somebody who's beginning. The only thing is the focus is a little weird. I've never shot a camera with a focus like that. But it was pretty nice, easy to use, super compact, which was nice.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most interesting thing is the zone focus. I think all of us are getting used to that because I've never shot with a zone focus camera before.
I have once, but it had like 3 settings.
Like 3 different focus settings.
Yeah, so it's not like, and they're pretty different. So, but this has like what, 5 or 6?
Yeah, it's like 5 or 6 different ones, and there's no other real settings to change. Like you don't have manual control over your aperture unless you're shooting in bokeh mode. That forces it to be at like f3.5. And then aside from that, your camera's fairly auto mode. So the only thing you have to do is roughly guess where is my focus. But you saw your images today?
Yeah.
Yeah, how most of them in focus, some of them not. I mean, being a brand new user, what would you say?
I think a lot of them were out of focus. Although I will say I think the exposures were pretty good. And I had it on auto for most of it, and then I switched it to program at the end. And I also shot with my half frame, and you could definitely just tell like the photo quality was definitely much better on.
Yeah, what half frame camera were you using? Because you compared one other half frame camera to this one.
My Ektar.
Ektar, the H35. Yeah. Yeah, that's like a $50 camera, and this is like a $500 camera.
And I shot with 400D.
Cinestill 400D. Nice, nice. All right. What do you guys think? What's your take? I have all kinds of thoughts, but I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
You want to go for it?
I'll go for
We want
it.
the unvarnished truth.
Unvarnished?
So I shot my first roll on the Pentax 17 at Epcot because I'm pretty familiar with Epcot and I know.
Hope's digging into the cookies. Did not last long.
When there's food involved.
Keep going.
But I know the park, and so I'm familiar with it, and I'm confident shooting there. So I also use 400D, and I will say that looking at my scans, it turned out pretty good. I think it was a pretty sunny day, other than the afternoon shower. But welcome to Florida. That's what you get. And then comparing it to the images that I shot yesterday, I would say it works a lot better in just, I don't want to say flat lighting, but I guess flat lighting, not much shadow.
Because John and I were talking about it too. I think my role for our review, I shot Kodak Ektar. John shot Aurora 800. And what film were you shooting?
I shot Phoenix,
Phoenix.
which is already a very contrasty film.
Yeah.
So mine came out pretty interesting looking because I don't think the meter does well with the dark shadows and light highlights. It was
Yeah, you had
being
quite a few,
tricked, as it were.
images that were maybe had some stray backlight coming in,
Yep.
and then the camera way compensated for that bright light, and so a lot of yours came out fairly dark.
yes.
But your images from Epcot, we were looking at them. I thought they looked great.
Yeah,
and that was like your first roll through it.
I was happy with how they came out. I was especially happy with the bokeh mode on it. There's one in particular that I'm thinking of I was in the Italy pavilion, and there was a flower, and then it had like the tower in the background, and it was exposed very nicely, and the depth of field was, I thought, beautiful. So
Yeah. Yeah, the bokeh mode is nice because, like we were saying, it forces that aperture. The aperture only goes to 3.5. It's like not like letting a lot of light in, but the bokeh mode forces that open. So I think if you get to a point where you nail the focus, you kind of get somewhat of a full frame camera look. Your traditional background blur, things like that. What did you shoot for the review? You shot a different roll of film. I think you were the only one who shot black and white.
yeah, I shot Pan F. I've never shot it before, but it was a low speed. I kind of wanted to try
50.
it out. Yeah, 50 ISO.
50 ISO, yeah. And that's the lowest ISO the camera has.
Yes.
I'm looking at it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the lowest it has. Yeah.
Yeah. I like my Epcot images better, personally.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, it's Epcot. Brie,
Actually, I like
how many
mine
times
before.
have you been to Epcot this past year?
I don't want to admit how many times.
May I ask
been a
how you
lot.
afford it? Because I could use whatever you're doing.
The annual pass really helps.
Yeah.
Paul, who was here today, he's our producer. He has annual pass to Disney, and he goes all the time.
Yeah.
So you're in good company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. I don't know.
So more than once, less than
20. No, 50.
Wait, have you
Definitely
been
less
there
than
20 times?
Within
yeah.
the
How many
past
times
year.
has she been to Epcot this
To
year?
Epcot, just Epcot. I want to say probably 15 times.
This past year?
Wow. I've never
Yeah.
even been to Epcot.
Yeah, you
I haven't
texted
been to
me
Epcot.
and you were like, "Hey, can I bring the Pentax 17 camera to Epcot?" And I was like, really excited. I was like, "Yeah, that would be great." But apparently, Epcot's just a normal thing for you. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, she's going to Epcot. That's awesome."
Yeah. Well,
Like,
and
yeah, Epcot.
my very first roll of film that I scanned on the Frontier, I shot at Epcot.
I remember that
Epcot.
actually.
I don't know. It's,
Shout out to
it's so
Epcot.
familiar. I just,
So familiar.
I love
Yeah.
it.
For us.
So shooting film in a familiar place is definitely the way to go.
Yeah,
So,
to test out a camera.
Yeah.
Especially.
Yeah, your black and white images came out good too. I mean, I didn't see an issue with exposure, and that's kind of a harder film to shoot, like Pan F 50 low ISO. So I was kind of curious how it would do, but it seemed to handle it pretty well.
I think in the program mode, I know I use the program mode, I think the most. I don't think I ever put it in auto. I think it was just program and bokeh.
For the review that we did?
For the review, yeah, when I
Okay.
shot the Phoenix.
Yeah.
And I think that it definitely, yeah, the meter is weird. But were you shooting in program or auto, or
I
were we
was
shooting most of the time?
both of the rolls that I shot. I was switching between pretty much all of them out of because I wanted to or just because it happened with my thumb.
Yeah, because it's easy to move.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all had that complaint. Basically, initially shooting the film, we noticed that when you're trying to advance the film, your thumb is so close to the dial that you end up kind of rotating the dial and either going into a totally different mode that will mess up your photos or just a mode that you're not wanting to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think John one time accidentally put it to bulb. So then it's like...
He's shaking his head over there, so clearly that must have happened.
I didn't notice that, so that may have happened to me too, and I just didn't realize.
What were the cons, you think, for the camera, Brie, for you?
For me, that's definitely one of the biggest, I think, for me. I'm used to shooting on bigger cameras, so not that I'm like reckless with it, but I don't want to have to worry about what the mode dial is set on, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
Every time I pull it out, it's kind of annoying. Also, the fingers in the frame, that has never happened to me before.
Oh, yes.
In any camera that I've shot with, but I had a couple where my fingers were in the frame.
I did not have that problem. I don't know if that's just because I paid more attention or what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, so I shot 3 rolls before we did the review today, and right out the gate, the camera, it's so small, which is nice for like traveling and lightweight, but when you go to hold it,
it's very
I
easy
find
to just...
my finger right here often, or just different ways that you go to hold it. And so I think every single one of us today, even in our test review, had images where there's a slight finger. It almost looks like a light leak, but then when you look at it, you're like, that's clearly a finger.
That's a finger.
Yeah. So I think you have to be really cognizant of where your hands are when you're shooting. But I agree with you, because no other camera that I shoot, I have to worry about where I put my hands. I guess the ergonomics of them are designed to where I just don't even think about it. And so I don't have a random finger sticking into a frame.
Well, even in my 2 point-and shoots, which are about the same size, like that's something that I never really worried about. But for this one, it was, so.
Have you ever had that with your H35? Like, because
No.
you've used that quite a bit. That was your first camera?
I think you have. I think I've seen one.
I had one picture where I had that problem. I feel like I remember seeing that, but it's not like a reoccurring problem.
Right.
One thing I will say though too, is they don't look like it would be super light, but it is really light. Like,
yeah, I think the first time I unboxed it, like we got these 2 units in, and we're actually giving these 2 units away. So go watch the review. There's details about it. If you want to win one, you don't have to pay $500. So that's great. I imagine this podcast is going to come out after our review. What'd you say?
I said I'm totally entering
you win
in.
one that all of us have shot.
Yeah, literally, these have graced our hands.
Okay.
The one John you
paying
used, you may have to
$1,000
wash.
I'll even autograph the box.
Oh, we should totally
all
autograph
the
it.
box.
We're doing that. Okay, so
That was a good idea.
that is a good idea. Just one of the many she's brought to the team.
Like the belt.
Oh.
That was both of our ideas.
Okay,
I
yeah.
feel.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about the tactical
We need to
ones.
put that into our
There we go.
vlog, our next vlog. The belt. You have bedazzled your belt now.
Bedazzled.
Did you?
No, I just put pins on it. Okay.
See.
Pins
Oh, is
for
that just a
mine.
sentence still?
No, I have an HP5
Oh, John's grabbing
pin.
it. John's grabbing it. He's bringing
Thank
it
you,
over.
John.
You showed off to your camera. So these, Bree the other day was saying, you know what we need is we need like some work
Tool
belts
belts.
that we can have our tools in, because when we're scanning and developing your film, cutting up negatives and sleeving them,
Exactly.
we are always stealing each other's pens,
Oh, yeah.
scissors, and everything. So I just went on Amazon and I found this tool belt, and we trialed it, I think, with John and Bree.
I think it's Dickies.
So now you know what happens?
Dickies tool belt.
All the
Thank you.
There you
scanners
go.
have their nice little belts with all their stuff in them, and they steal my stuff and stick them in their belts.
No, we do not.
I have to go on a
I bought
wild
my
goose
own
chase every day. to
John
find
is
new
scissors.
pens.
very silently disagreeing in the distance.
John
That is
steals
not
my
at all
pens
what
the time
happens.
and swaps them out for the ones that don't work. It's
That's-
hard prepping here.
John
Oh
does.
my
John does
gosh.
prank you a lot, but being his sister, I guess I see why.
That's true.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna get him back one day.
He's like over there. I got to get in this podcast, but you're sitting out today, buddy. But yeah, you had the belt. So you've brought a lot of good ideas so far. So I'm glad.
Yeah.
Ava, I almost called you Sierra. Ava nagged me to hire you as an intern. Best thing ever.
You're welcome.
Yeah. You're welcome, guys.
I don't even know how we got on this subject now.
Autograph.
Bree.
Oh, autograph. Yeah. So Bree's bringing the Godos. So anyways, Pentax 17 camera. Our review is currently live on YouTube. I think we're going to publish this podcast after. And all you have to do is be subscribed to our channel, watch the review, and we want to know what you think about the camera.
Like
clearly,
subscribe.
like and subscribe. Thanks. Hope.
What the heck?
How did you say that?
No, I'm not going to say that.
Can you do
Let's
that?
say it again.
They heard. It's okay.
It's okay.
I don't know. I think I missed it.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
So Ava, what are your thoughts on the camera? So you guys are veterans. You're college graduates of photography. Me and Hope are like chumps over here. We have
Oh
we
my
have no degrees in photography, so we need your expert advice. Pros and cons. Let's hear it from Ava.
Honestly, I don't really like the focus. That's gotta
focus
be,
system?
I think,
I agree.
one of the most annoying things to me. I'm very used to the manual focus.
Manual focus, like though, where you can see where you're focusing. Like you shoot
Right,
a Canon
yeah.
AE1 program a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my all the time shooter. I have a lot of other cameras that I shoot. Every once in a while, I'll bring them with, but it's always the Canon A1 goes with me everywhere when I'm shooting. And that one it's through the lens, so you can see if your hands are in the way, as opposed to these. It has the actual focus ring, and you can see the difference there.
Yeah, there's something about that tactile feel of analog
Yeah.
photography. I mean, most modern digital cameras are all autofocus lenses. We don't really see many manual focus lenses
Right.
even in digital photography. So
Yeah.
and this is just a click system. It's literally, you're looking at, okay, how far away am I? Click, click, click. So it's just almost like a guessing game, but it's not too hard because I think most of your images were in focus. I don't think we had an issue with focus, but it's probably just, I think it's not our favorite system for focusing.
It more was like I didn't like being that unsure about how they would come out.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
even with like the program or auto mode, I don't ever shoot in those modes on any other camera.
Okay.
I don't trust it.
Your old school manual.
Yeah, well, too, then you can, like, if you have a specific shot, you can overexpose or underexpose. Like, you can really change how the photo comes out based on how you shoot it. Because I shot a roll of Phoenix in my Canon AE1 right before, actually, I brought both cameras at the same place. And for a few of them, I just overexposed it. Like, I think 1 or 2 stops. But, like, you have that luxury with a camera that you can control more. But this one, you're really only controlling a few things.
Yeah, you definitely have that fine tune control. Like you can set your shutter, you can set your aperture, and you know exactly where you're focusing. Versus
Right.
this, it's doing half of that for you, even though you're setting the focus. One thing that the camera does have, which we didn't really test out, and I don't think I would ever use it, it does have the exposure compensation dial.
So
Did you use that?
I did.
Okay.
When I shot a Cinestill 800T, John and I had
Why am I surprised?
both used the camera. He shot half the 800T and I shot the other half of the 800T right before we did the review. I set it for +1 the whole time I was shooting the Cinestill 800T, and it came out pretty well.
So you set the ISO to 800, but compensated by +1, so you're treating
Yep.
it like a 400. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. For me personally, I always overexpose almost all my film just to make sure my exposures are good. And so I think with a camera like this, you could either rate your film at half ISO or use the exposure compensation dial. But you don't have, I think with like the Canon AE1, you don't really have that ability to fine tune it.
Right,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think another thing that I personally didn't like about this is how
She's got it in her hands now. She's like, oh, now I'm remembering.
how quiet the shutter
I
button
know.
goes.
I was like, wait, did it go off?
I was like, did it go or
what's-
not?
It was
Also,
I was
it's
sitting
not
there-
satisfying.
It's
I
not.
know. I know. Like, I like to hear that. And I'm like, oh, I took a picture.
There is something about that shutter
wind?
click, like with a Leica or any of the classic film cameras.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I know. I was trying to see if I could get it to.
Can you get it?
And I'd say, like, my Canon AE1 is pretty, like, it has a pretty good click. And so I'm not used to, and I kept thinking, like, oh, it didn't take a picture. And then I was like, well, wait, I need to wind
All
it.
right, let's
So-
see if the microphone can even pick it up.
quiet on set?
Oh, it's
You hear that,
so
John?
quiet and
Yeah,
unsatisfying.
so I don't know how that sounds on the
Yeah.
microphone, but
I
in
don't.
general, it's just a very small click. And I think if you're in a crowded environment, the only way you know to take a picture is if you could advance the frame.
And usually,
But I do
too,
like, there's something about that shutter click.
you can kind of feel
Yeah.
it too when you like, you know, it's not, but that just like goes right down. So
Yeah, I
you
just
don't
felt
really,
like I had to like press it too hard. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, I know
Yeah.
what you mean. Like it.
No,
Well, I
It's
think because it
weird.
doesn't have that tactile like click down,
Mm-hmm.
you're used to kind of getting that almost that tactile response back.
Right.
Right.
In this, it's just an electronic, like it knows it's pressed down far enough, and so it activates the
Yeah.
shutter.
Which
So-
also goes into like with other cameras, manual cameras, you push it halfway and then you push it all the way. Like that idea is gone almost because
Yeah.
it's like, I think if you like the halfway point for this camera based on a different camera would just be.
But some
the
people
full
might
shutter.
actually like it quieter. I think that's just
Yeah,
a
that probably is
personal
preference, and there's
thing.
probably situations where you would want a quiet shutter.
Mm-hmm.
That's true if you're not wanting to like disrupt something.
Yeah, I think
But-
one of the reviews I watched online is he ended up taking the camera to a concert, and because it was so small and innocuous, such a tiny camera, normally they don't allow cameras in, they just lit it. And he could literally just pull it out, pop a photo, and like slide it back in his jacket.
That's
So
something that's
Oh,
really
okay.
I think
there you go.
shooting style preferences, but
There's
all
uses.
three of us were like, no, we want to hear the
Yeah.
shutter. I want to
I
hear
know.
that.
Every
I'm a
time
very
shooting
classic
on my
shutter person.
AE1, and whoever I'm around, I'm like, listen to this, guys, and I
It's
just
the
make them
wine.
listen to
Everywhere,
it.
every
the
time she
wine.
goes to Epcot, she finds somebody and she's like, listen to this.
Listen to it.
Listen to it.
Educating the Epcot population
Yeah.
of Canon AE1s.
I was at my brother's graduation and I had my AE1 and I was taking pictures at the front and like everybody was quiet and I don't really think anybody heard it, but it was just like really loud and when it went off. And I was
So
like, oh.
I can
so
see
clearly there's
how-
times
I was like,
when
that's
you
a
would
little
want
bit
something,
awkward.
lighter.
I don't know. I
smaller.
feel like when it comes to like shutter sound or like noise, like you even get that with like people with mirrorless cameras not having too loud. It's like not as
yeah,
loud.
there's no more mirror up and down.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're already like getting into like quieter, but I think that's something that's super, I don't know, unique about film cameras is that it has that tangible loud click and advancement.
Yeah. Yeah, even the advancement here is definitely very quiet. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, for me, I think probably the pros of the camera is that it's lightweight. And if I want to go out and shoot something and not carry around an expensive camera, you know,
I mean, it's $500. What is your
$500.
inexpensive camera expensive
and
camera?
I normally shoot a Leica M6, and that's like pushing $5,000 depending on the lens. And
Oh.
yeah,
I
now,
wish.
it's one
I
of those
wish.
things like you say out loud. You're like, man, I'm carrying around a lot of money.
Ay,
Now, most people I
geez.
think are naive of Leica, so there's not, I don't worry about it being stolen. But if I want to go out and shoot something, now I'm going to be watching my back now that we're talking about this. Like, oh, he has that.
Oh.
But to go out and shoot something relatively easy, lightweight, taking pictures of the kids. To me, I watched a review by Matt Day. He's a kind of a big type analog film photographer on YouTube, and he said it's kind of a good like journal diary camera, and kind of documenting casual life. So I think if I were to pick one up, it would be along the same lines.
Yeah, I know
That's
that,
true.
John was mentioning how he thinks it would be a really good wedding
Oh yeah.
camera.
Just like behind the scenes type
Especially
like
for,
A
like,
wedding
second
camera
shooters.
using the flash at like the reception, because you have that classic old school look.
Yeah.
Like some of the images that John took, we wanted to test out the flash. He just took images of us goofing around / working today with the flash, and we were looking at them, and they just kind of have that nostalgic look to it. It's like a classic film camera with a flash, kind of a direct on. So I kind of think weddings would do really well with that.
Yeah, and you also have a little bit, you have more flexibility than a disposable camera. That would
That's
give
true.
a kind of a look, but
72
you
images. That's the biggest thing. 72
It's
images.
72,
You're
and
really
you can
stretch your
change
film.
$500.
the film inside and not just have the disposable camera.
Bree's not buying one.
Oh, $500.
buy one.
I don't. I
Buy
can't
one,
justify
but
that.
it's a
I buy
nice
a lot of
camera.
cameras, but I don't think
Yeah.
I can't justify that.
Yeah, so coming up, we're going to take a quick break, and afterwards, we're going to discuss questions we got from Instagram and our social medias. So we'll be right back. So our Pentax 17 review is live. We took these two guys and reviewed it with all the staff, and we each shot a different roll of film. So go check it out on YouTube, link right below. So our Pentax 17 camera testing is continuing. We had a great question the other day wondering how big can you print from the half frame. So what we did is we scanned some film on the largest scanning, getting large resolution scans. And today we printed a 17 by 22. So Ava can get in there and show you some of the detail. And pretty impressive considering that a 17 by 22 print actually crops a little bit of the image out. But if you were wondering, can you take nice photos with this lens and get large prints? I think the verdict is in. You can.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Dude, these got devoured today. Mm-hmm. All right, well, welcome back
not over.
to the second part. Our cookies are almost gone. So I guess we'll have to push the mics away when we're chewing. Before we started the review, we got 2 cameras in to sell, and we decided to review them. As of today, we actually have 20 more cameras come in, and they're going to be on the website soon. But we took the social media on our Instagram, YouTube, and we wanted to know, what did you guys want to know about the camera? Some of that information is in the review if you've already seen it, but we wanted to get more thorough. First question we have from Instagram from Jangalang808.
You have a beautiful username.
And they have their icon, their picture is of a dog. It's very cute.
It's probably the name of the dog.
I would like to know, I'm kind of paraphrasing, compare it to the Ektar H35N,
This one?
which is your camera, your half frame camera.
Compared to this camera?
Yeah.
Yes.
like
No,
compared
compared
it,
to a Contax.
which we did, no, compared to the Contax 645. No, the Ektar,
We went into it a little bit before the break, but I'm trying to think of like the main.
How about the lens?
Oh, different. So
yeah,
Okay, well,
compare
my-
and contrast.
my Ektar
Remember
has,
those words?
This is just a random thing, but like a star filter, and this obviously doesn't have it. But and also the focus on this one, how it has like all the little settings at the front.
Yeah, talk a little closer to the mic.
How it all has all the little settings at the front. The Ektar half frame does not have that. So, yeah.
You shot today some images of that the Pentax 17 and the Ektar. Do you think it's a worthwhile $500 difference? Actually, it's probably about $450 price difference. What do you think about that in comparison to like the image quality that you were seeing? I mean, you're a new photographer, so that's kind of a unique perspective that you have.
If you can learn how to use the focus, yes, it's worth it. Like you could just see in like some of those pictures, it's just much better quality than the other one is. And you definitely have much more control with this one than you do with the Ektar. The Ektar's more like...
It's just a point and shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you literally have no control over it.
So you can
Besides
kinda
the flash.
switch it up with this one.
Yeah. Have you guys ever shot with any other like point and shoot half frames? Have you?
I've shot with the Sprite one,
Okay.
and then I've shot one like that, I think once, or it may have been yours.
Maybe.
I don't
But yeah,
remember.
definitely if you're looking into getting a half frame and you have a little extra
Cash
money
lying
to
around.
spend, this I would say is a better way to go. Just learn how to use the focus and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I was talking to
Yeah,
a
if you really
customer
need-
the other day, and they were looking at one of our half-frame H35 cameras, and they're like, "I want it because film's getting so pricey that I want to stretch it out further." And she's like, "But I want a nicer quality camera." And I'm like, "Well," and at the time, the Pentax wasn't here. I was like, "Yeah, that does. Unless you're going to get like a really old school half-frame camera from back in the day, there's just no good half-frame camera with a really, really great image quality to stretch your dollar on your film." So I think essentially now, if you're wanting just a really nice camera and you like the half-frame concept, because some people like shooting vertically. Sierra mentioned that in the review today. She's like, "Yeah, I shoot vertically on my phone all the time." So she
That's true.
really
It
liked
appeals
the
to
vertical.
the generation.
Yeah,
That's like that's what you're used to seeing.
and you post your images in that vertical format.
Right.
Do we tell them about the drop test?
That's literally the next question. So,
No way.
yeah, we got a question from I'm from VB on Instagram. And the question is, how far of a drop can it take onto a gravel driveway before taking serious damage?
I don't know, Mike. You
We can't
dropped
tell
it
you
today,
exactly
didn't
about
you?
the gravel driveway.
Well, when we were getting these questions together, I was like, "There's no way in the world I'm doing this." I was like, "These are like almost $500. Well, they're $500 cameras. I'm not dropping it." But then today, I dropped 2 cameras today. Actually, we have a Sony camera we use for filming way up there. I dropped that, and then like 30 minutes later, I actually dropped one of these. It was not onto a gravel road. But it was definitely.
We can't tell you for sure.
Yeah, but it was definitely a solid
It
4-foot
fell.
drop, like onto our tile floors, and then we went out and used it, and it worked. So
No problems
it
here.
can survive minor falls. I don't know if gravel would make a difference, but we were covered there.
May
It
just
depends on how you
scratch the
drop it, too.
cosmetic. I guess
think you
if
should
it's
spend
gravel.
$500 on it and test it yourself. Let us know.
Make a video and tag us in it.
Yeah.
I'd watch it.
That's a thing
That's all
where
I'm
people
gonna
will
say.
like go out on the day like a new iPhone comes out, and they just go out
Can you
immediately
imagine?
buy it and just like throw it in the air.
See,
Yeah.
that sounds like so much fun, though.
But then they get a million
Fun.
views and make a ton of money, and it pays for the phone.
right, that sounds
Yeah.
like a ton of fun.
I mean,
So maybe that should
good for
be
you.
part of our YouTube.
Like, we'll go and destroy things, so you don't have
if you
to.
want to
Have you ever
invite
heard of
us,
the
as
rage
long as you're
rooms?
paying for the
The
camera.
rage
I want to
rooms.
do one of those so badly.
You've never
I
heard
do
of this?
too.
I know, but I.
John says one opened in Daytona.
A
Yeah,
rage
there's
room?
little
one open,
negative
yeah,
info.
where
What
you
do-
just
what
go
do
in
you
and
do?
smash things.
Smash
Really?
Just like
You
tons of
literally
things.
Oh my
you just
gosh.
go in.
Like,
There's like
wreck
TVs
everything.
and
Bring a
vases.
Pentax 17.
I read it's actually like a type of therapy.
Bree, I think you should put that camera down.
I'll take it.
Maybe someone else should hold it for the rest of the podcast. Hope really likes it, so she
Yeah.
should hold it.
I didn't say that.
And that reminds me, I remember in graduate school, we were doing like the history of psychology. And for family counseling, you have family systems counseling is very popular, seeing the family as a system or a unit. And there was this guy, I forget his name, but I feel like he was from the 70s and 80s. He had this thing where if family members had conflict with each other, he encouraged them to like take big foam bats and to hit each other with them
That is hilarious.
as a way to get their aggression and anger out.
I do that throughout the week
That
anyway.
doesn't seem very healthy.
Well, that's the thing.
healthy way
Eventually,
to
long
deal with
term,
it.
it never really helped get their aggression out. It just,
Just
made
made
them
it
more and
worse.
more aggressive.
Because they couldn't really
And
hurt
so
him.
eventually, I think he was kind
Right.
of determined to be a fraud. And they're like, yeah, if you have anger, you shouldn't like faux hit somebody with like a soft bat or something.
It's fun though if you're not angry and you're just having fun.
I don't think it's fun. I think
it's
what's fun is like a glass window, just like
you shatter
that's
it.
fun.
Well, maybe we can do a lab field trip to the rage room.
Really?
We should.
Totally.
Somebody has to sign a waiver for me though, so
I will.
Okay, next question.
Okay, moving on.
Another question from I'm from VB. If you get large
got a lot to
scans
say.
done, how large can you print a half frame photo without it being blurry?
At least a 17 by 22.
Yeah. We
We haven't
had
tried
a
bigger.
story on our Instagram, and we actually included it in the review. But I've printed 3 images so far on 17 by 22. And if you look at the format of 17 by 22, it actually crops the image out a little bit. And if you look at the shadows of the print, like we have one right here, you definitely start to see some of the grain. But I was extremely surprised how well it printed.
What film did you shoot for that print?
Yeah, so that one was just
can you see it on the
Fuji 200, like a very simple consumer film. And today I shot purposefully because this print came out so well for my film of choice. It was Kodak Ektar because Kodak Ektar is Kodak's world's finest grain. That's what they say. And it actually did look a little bit better. Like the images from the Ektar, I printed 2. They're in our review. I think Paul got some close-ups of it. The detail's pretty phenomenal. I don't know if you could go much larger than that, but generally when you're looking at larger prints, you tend to look at them from further away. But I think if you buy this camera, want to get large scans, and print something for your house, there shouldn't be a problem.
No.
Hope has a hot take, she said.
You got
I
a
don't
hot take on
actually
that?
like Ektar that much.
You don't like
Just a
Ektar?
random thing. That's
I don't
awesome
think you're going to be on the next
about it. I
podcast.
just don't like it. No, I should be.
All right, so why don't you like Ektar? We will segue because Ektar is a unique film. People either love it or hate it. So
That's true.
What do you think about it?
I don't know. Something about it. I don't really.
Have you shot it?
Something
Yes.
about it just grinds her gears.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Something about it. I just don't love it that much.
Should you take a roll to the rage room?
No, I don't hate it. I just something about it. I don't know. It might just be because I see it a lot and it only comes in like that one
Yeah, that's how most films work.
Most films come in one speed.
If you're new to film, they only have a set ISO.
Usually.
All right, so Tom Glore from Instagram. What's it like to the view from the viewfinder? Like, what does it look like looking through the viewfinder?
Well,
I mean,
Tom,
it's vertical.
Yeah. Yeah, that was weird for me to get used to because I've never shot half frame before and I'm used to shooting full frame. So I was like rotating it and I'm like, why does it look smaller this way? Or not smaller, but
Different.
landscape.
Yeah.
I guess is
Yeah,
the
I
word
mean,
that
it's
I'm looking
the
for.
opposite of
You're
what you're used
to going
to.
vertical, doing this.
Yes.
Going vertical,
But now you're doing
that's
this to go horizontal. So yeah, it messes with
Yeah.
your mind almost. You're not used to it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're only shooting that, it makes sense. Or
It's
like
not-
if you're used to shooting with your phone, like we've mentioned, like that's how you do it with your phone. But
it wasn't like too hard for me to get used to because I've kind of shot.
is that because you shoot with your phone?
No, it's because I've shot a half frame before.
Yeah, you've already been shooting half frame
Yeah,
cameras, so I
so,
think you're
like,
pretty
it's
used to
not-
it.
I don't know if this was ever mentioned in the viewfinder. There's like borders.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know what those were
the
for.
boxes.
Those are your frame lines.
Those are where the image
You
is
didn't know that?
taking.
No, I
So
didn't.
Bree was just guessing this whole time.
Yeah, they have
I don't know, I
the
just
box.
thought
the-
Why wasn't
There was
the-
lines.
They just, they
and
put these lines in here.
there
I'm
were
like,
lines
oh.
in there.
what?
They're
I said
fun
they
to
were
stare
lines?
at. They're fun
Yeah,
to.
well, in Star Wars, they have these lines. No, I'm just joking.
Oh my gosh!
If you would have watched it,
If
would
you
know.
watched it, you would have
It's all
known.
because I didn't watch Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, that's why
Okay.
you didn't understand.
That's true.
It was true from a certain point of view.
No, yeah, so it does have, it actually has two sets of frame lines, one shooting generically, and it has a smaller, reduced, I guess, size of frame lines that when you're shooting macro mode, it's supposed to help because when you get in closer, you're not going to get that full height.
Right.
I actually
yeah.
kind of like those
Not following those.
lines.
Now that makes way more sense shooting the camera. All right, next question is from Highland Ascent from Instagram. Can I shoot full frames on it even though it's half frame?
No, it's half,
half
frame.
And another question from Highland Ascent. We're just going to move on. It is it a purely analog camera or is there some digital lurking in there?
I mean, it has digital mechanics, but you can only shoot film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a film
Highland,
camera.
you should go watch some of our other videos and come back with some more questions.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing people trying to make hybrid cameras, like a film camera that would have a digital sensor back, but nothing ever came of it.
Well, did
But-
the Hasselblad?
Yeah, I was about to say
Oh,
Hasselblad's.
I guess I'm proved
They-
wrong right on the spot.
they
Bree,
made-
all her knowledge. And
Us.
Ava,
It's the college
Oh,
kids.
wait.
it's the graduates.
It's
the girls
schooling.
and the
It's the
schooling.
schooling. What do I know? All right. Next question. Vera Timo. Please test what is the longest shutter speed it might use in no flash program in bokeh mode.
You seem
Longest
like you shot
shutter
cameras like
speed.
this before.
I guess longest in time
Long-
being open the longest.
I mean, you have
Bulb.
bulb mode,
Yeah.
so it can be open
Yeah.
as long as you're holding
Yeah, we
it down
didn't
or have a
test
shutter
it
release.
because there's no way to tell what shutter speed it's using. There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the viewfinder saying, "Hey, you're at a 60th of a second or a 30th of a second." It's purely the camera's picking for you.
And that
So-
goes into too, not being able to control it or know what it is doing.
Yeah, which again, I think for us three irritates us because we're
Yeah.
more into it. Okay, and 204. What's the best kind of low grain film to use on it? Hope.
Vector.
Yeah, that's what
Recommended by Hope. Yeah,
Totally.
Ektar's good. If you want more of a portrait film, Portra 160 would be good.
Not 1600?
No, Portra 1600. I heard there was a delay and it's not going to be out till next year.
Pre-ordering the film, the only part that you guys actually care about, pre-orders will start on April 31st at 11 a.m. on our website. We are told it's just going to be available in 35 millimeter.
Go shoot the Portra 1600. I cannot wait to shoot some more of it.
Dang.
April,
I was
right?
really looking forward to that.
April 1st.
April 1st of next year. Yeah, I think
That's my
that's
birthday.
the delay.
That's it.
That is your birthday, yeah.
Yeah, I had to ask you that like 6 times to really be sure. I thought you were joking.
Happens a lot.
Lewis _ Almeida, do you set all the time +1 on exposure? ISO 200 +1 on exposure. I guess
so
he's
pushing?
asking.
It's a little confusing.
I guess he's asking, do you shooting an ISO 200 film, would you set your exposure compensation to +1 to overexpose
Oh,
it?
okay.
I do, personally. I either would set a 200 speed film to 100 just to make sure I'm getting enough exposure, or I would use the exposure compensation as +1. I do that all the time. Would you guys do that?
Yeah, I did. I increased it a little bit on this one. I usually increase it on my Elan, my normal everyday film camera too. That's how I guess push.
I think from our perspective, because we scan film and when we see underexposed film, often we know how it looks. We're very quick to want to meter for the shadows and not get that washed out, hazy look.
Oh, yeah, because you can bring the highlights back a good amount.
A very good amount, yeah.
There's no information when it's too underexposed, so there's nothing to bring back there.
Right. So another question is from ben.vt_. Thoughts on its build or physical quality? So I guess, how was it built?
Almost too compact.
It is very compact. And I mentioned this in the review, and I kind of even pointed it out. I think all the dials are just way too close together and I guess too big for the top of it. So again, like I mentioned before, when you're advancing the film, it's easy to change.
They're too easy to move.
It's easy to change everything, in my opinion. But it is very light. So,
sorry, you keep going.
Yeah, I think the engineering of the layout of the top, that's where we were having issues. Like constantly moving from one mode to the next. And it got to the point where I was like, I really need to be cognizant of that, which when I'm advancing film, I don't think I really want to be cognizant. Am I changing my mode? I just want to advance the film and move on.
But I think the compactness probably also helps if you drop it or something. It's very it feels sturdy.
Maybe, yeah.
But also lightweight. But yeah, it is a little.
It's lightweight, so it's nice to carry around. Yeah. But as far as functionality, you just got to either be really mindful of it, or I guess not do something. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Another question from Chase Sear. Is there a full frame version of the camera coming out soon?
Is there?
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
a question for Pentax.
Nothing.
Yeah, go ask Pentax.
Yeah. Oh, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
What?
There's nothing from Pentax. John's like screaming in the distance.
That's what I was thinking.
What were you thinking? Yeah. Yeah. As far as I know, there's no officially announced, hey, we're coming out with a full frame camera.
Yeah.
And the camera's only been out maybe a couple of weeks. I do think there's probably intentionality to come out with one. Like they put a lot of work into this, a lot of engineering and making it. They decided on half frame through a lot of market research is what I understand. And full frame would be in the works. There is another full frame camera coming soon.
The Raleigh.
Yeah.
Or Rolly, depending on who you are.
How do you say it, Ava?
Raleigh.
Yeah, I say Raleigh.
Raleigh sounds cooler anyways.
It does.
So stick with Raleigh.
Rolly sounds kind of odd to me.
Leave us a comment down below. Is it Raleigh or Rolly?
That's another one that I don't know how to say. I say, I don't know if it's Rico, but that sounds like a person's name. Or Rico?
I think it's Rico. Rico Pentax.
Although Ryko sounds cooler.
Ryko sounds
Ryko
cooler.
does sound cooler.
I've called it Ryko.
Leave us a comment down below. Which
I feel
one
like
is
if
it?
you fake
Ryko.
confidence, it's really like anything could be right.
Yeah.
You'd be like, yeah, it's Ryko.
I actually didn't know it was supposed to be Rolly until I was talking to Mike at Daytona State in the stock room, and he's like, it's Rolly. And I was like, okay.
Because Mike would know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm looking at our next question. Same question, or different question from Chaser. Is there a different new camera coming out anytime soon? I think he knows, so maybe he just wants us to talk about this.
There you go.
Yeah, so if you don't know, Mint Camera, they're a kind of a manufacturer. They typically refurbish instant cameras like the SLR 670, the Polaroid. They're known for the instant camera world, and they are coming out with a full frame camera that's going to be after the old Raleigh 35, and it's going to have autofocus. It's going to have adjustable aperture, 35 millimeter lens, and I think it's most enthusiast photographers like us. That's probably more of what we're looking for.
I'm a lot more excited about that one than I was about this one.
If you want to see an RFL review, leave a comment down below.
There you go.
And put your favorite lab employees also in the comment.
I think it's coming soon because on their Instagram, just today, the owner of Mint, he put out a link and it had a picture of like 30 of the cameras built. and there was a link. It said wholesale sign up. So if you're a camera store, you can start getting ready. We already have a wholesale account, so we'll definitely pre-order some. But I do think like this is a great Pentax 17 that we're talking about today is great for an entry level person, but most people are probably more looking forward to the Raleigh one. I know I am, because there's just more manual control. You can adjust kind of the settings, your depth of field, and be a little bit better off there. All right, we got a few more questions for today. Black man behind the cam on Instagram. With the sharpness of the lens, do you think it will degrade the image quality?
I don't think that we've seen.
Yeah.
No, that HD coding, I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh.
Bree has been on about this HD coding since we have found out about it.
I just don't. I poke fun at it because I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I think when we first heard it, you and I thought, okay, if it's saying it has an HD coding, it's got to be a plastic lens. Because why would you emphasize HD coding?
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the end, I'm pretty sure it's a glass lens. Looking at how sharp it is, and yeah, but no, I don't think lens sharpness would degrade an image. If anything, it would improve it. Anthony's expired film, zone focus, easy to use. Is it accurate?
Not easy.
If it depends on what you're shooting, I feel, because obviously you have like the landscape mode. If you're shooting landscapes, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But when you get more closely, at least for me, it was more annoying.
Yeah, I think it really just depends on what you're shooting, and it's easy, but also not. Like, I think you just have to shoot it and like learn from experience.
Yeah, I didn't have an issue with it for me because we got to shoot it a little bit before our review we shot today. I just took it out in my backyard for a few days, shot like 3 rolls of film through it, and majority of the images were in focus. The only ones I struggled with were the close-up images. And if you try to use the bokeh mode in the close-up macro focus, it's almost I didn't hit a single one. So it could just be more practice. But if you invest $500 into this camera, you're going to get good at it. Like,
yeah.
It's not
over
impossible.
time.
It's not my favorite, but it's not impossible to learn.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest criticism I think I've seen online is that it's, beside it being half frame, people were wanting full frame, it was zone focus. So I'm hoping they change that in future iterations. But Anthony, overall, no, it's easy. And I think over time, wherever you're struggling, you would eventually be able to fine tune it and be able to get better shots in areas like close up focus. What is it? Genuinely never heard of it. I don't even think we need to answer that.
It's a camera.
It's a camera.
It is.
Of the film variety.
If you've gotten this far in the podcast, you've
35
probably figured it
millimeter.
out by now.
I mean,
Hope just keeps it real. All right. Keltini, does the half frame really impact scan quality at all when looking at 4x6 or 5x7 prints?
I mean, if you scan it as large, I don't think you'd see too much of a difference from 4x6 to 5x7.
Yeah.
Even medium, would you?
Medium would do fine. They can print to
a
like
medium scan would definitely print you easily a 4x6 or a 5x7. I think looking at our resolution numbers, a medium scan in theory would get you easily a 5x7 without any issues.
Yeah. It's more when you start getting bigger that you start to see the difference there.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think the camera was made for people who aren't looking to blow up their images.
Yeah.
Super big.
If I'm looking at my image on my phone and I got medium or large scans, I mean, we have that print right there. That looks good. So that print shrunk down all the way to my phone. It's going to look super sharp and look nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're only printing small prints of 4x6 or 5x7, you don't need full frame. Like this would work sufficiently, and you get 72 images per.
Yep.
Per
as long as it was in focus.
If you're broke like me, it's perfect.
All right. Our final question from Instagram is from Sammy Whammy Film. Great name.
Great name.
How would you say it differs from a point and shoot, like a Canon Sure Shot, and I'll just add in any other maybe point and shoots from back in the 90s? Because it is a point and shoot, so how does it differ?
I shoot on point and shoots a lot. I have 2 full frame point and shoots that were just given to me, and I love shooting on them because they're so compact like this. I personally like them better. It's something that I don't really have to think about, especially advancing the film or anything like that. It's just easier. It's a lot more casual in my opinion. This, I think, takes a lot more, not that it's
of the carefreeness away.
Yeah. When I have my point and shoot in my hand, I don't want to think about settings. I don't want to have to think about
Like a disposable.
right. Yeah. And with this, you have to think about that a little bit. And at that point, I'm just gonna reach for my SLR, personally.
Yeah, if you're going out and shooting with a little bit more concerted mental effort, SLR or something nicer.
Yeah.
Concluding thoughts? Would you buy one? Would you recommend it to a friend?
I probably wouldn't buy one for me. Also, I think just because of how I like to shoot and what I shoot, it wouldn't be practical for me.
I don't think I'd buy one. I think if I had to suggest a camera, I'd suggest somebody to go look on eBay for a cheap point and shoot and stick with that. Unless they're really trying to get into film photography, but if you're just
And
looking
they
for
really
something
want the
casual,
half frame,
yeah.
Hope?
I don't know that I'd buy it. I would definitely recommend it to somebody depending on what they're looking for and what they're trying to shoot. But I'm not sure I would buy it just because, like, if I'm going to spend money on a camera, I have cameras that I would rather get.
You just recently got a nicer camera from your half frame, though, right? You were shooting on the Actar H35, and you have upgraded to a better camera now.
Oh yeah, my Canon 81. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I have that.
It's very nice.
How many rolls of film have you shot through that now?
Oh, a good amount.
I don't know. I think a good little
good
bit.
amount,
I actually
yeah.
have 6 at home that I needed to have developed. I just haven't brought them in yet.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I out of the staff, I think maybe Sierra should have been on this podcast, because when we went out today, we started shooting and we were kind of shooting this and that, and then she just kind of like started going off on her own, and she was like walking over here shooting, walking over there shooting, and she's like, I actually really like this. Like, she was actually having a good time. And at one point, I was halfway done with my film, and she's like, oh, I'm only at 20 images. But by the time we finished, she was at 72 images, and I was only at 54. She just like burned through it. And her film looked really good today.
It did.
So if we're missing one of the Pentax, we know where to look.
We know where to
Yeah,
look
we
first.
casually joked. I'm like, we're going to give these Pentax away, so maybe Sierra should not be taking them back to the lab, because she'll probably pocket one. But
fit in there.
Sierra's probably a good example, because she doesn't shoot a lot of film, but she was specifically saying that having the camera in auto mode and to go around and just shoot and not have to think about things. Granted, she had to shift her focus, but all of her film today looked in focus, maybe minus a couple, and she just absolutely nailed it. So
Nice.
I would probably buy one for the everyday shooting, kind of like the diary documenting life. But if I were to recommend it to someone, it would be someone like Sierra, like someone who says, I'm getting more into film photography. I want to, but I don't want to think about setting my aperture, setting my shutter speed. I just want to take nicer photos and maybe even get a lot more out of it, because it's 72 images.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I do
they're
think
one.
it's that
I can get it, yeah.
specific market that is
Yeah.
looking for it, which I think just we're not. And graduates, you guys definitely
I
are
know.
not.
I'm college educated.
Oh
so
my
it's-
gosh.
I'm above it.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you tuning into this podcast. Leave us a comment. What do you think about it? If you have not had a chance to see our full review, it is now on YouTube. We are giving away a couple of the cameras, and there's information there. And we will see you in the next episode. Cheers.
Cheers.
Like and subscribe.